Welcome to the Hockey on Tap podcast. This is episode 87, Hot Dogs and Hockey. I'm your host, Bill Dean. Of course, here are my two co-hosts, Little Steve and Schwim. We are missing Shorts Guy. We are brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Sam Wu and myself. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. The baby is grabbing everything on this desk. Please leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so kind. Gents, what are we drinking?
I am busting out, for no particular reason at all, Utopia's barrel-aged worldwide stout, because we were talking about it the other day.
Yep.
Somebody thought it was just Utopia's. I don't remember who it was.
Who asked us that?
Was it Hantus?
Was it Hantus?
It
was at the dinner. Hantus asked.
It was like, it was $40. I was like, no, Utopia's doesn't go for $40. Sorry, Hantus.
It's a tad higher.
I want to multiply that by about 6. I've had this. I don't know if I had it in the podcast. What is the? I don't even have a brewed on date, so I don't even know how old this is.
They usually are really faint around like the where it starts to curve up to the neck.
Just a lot number, and it looks like this might be the start of one where it just says 11. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
It's terrible.
Oh well.
Not bad. Schwimmer?
I'm trying something new this week. I don't know if you guys have ever had this. It's pretty good. It's called how do you say it? Key Lime Corrosion by Cape May.
This freaking kid.
Yeah, I mean,
I got 2 left, so I'm trying to go through them.
yeah, you're something, Shrim.
Thank you.
It's something. Haven't figured out what yet, but something.
And I'm trying to actually post to publish. All right, I was trying to post the link out for everybody so that they could check us out. Episode 87, like I said, hot dogs.
Ooh, I didn't
hockey.
realize. Look at that number.
What, 87? Yeah. I didn't think you. I thought you would have noticed that. But
at this pour.
That's very beautiful. So I have, courtesy of my sister-in-law, who continually gives me more and more beers.
I actually haven't gotten one yet, and I'm a little upset about
I will
this.
tell her. So she got someone to go up to Alchemist for her, and she brought back Focal Bangers and Heady Toppers, so obviously I've got some of those. But she also brought a new one called Crusher. It's a double IPA. And
nice.
She also got me another, it's a stout. It's a, either stout or porter, I can't remember, but couple, so pretty good. I have some away beers, some vacation beers that she brought me to bring you guys. So eventually when you come over next, we will partake. But yeah, so pretty good week for hockey.
Campbell just made an awesome save. Sorry.
Here we go.
This is,
it begins.
Just so for the folks that don't know, this is called Schwim's active playoff season, where Schwim was on camera and we think that he's paying attention to us. But he's really just watching the game, and he screams and yells in the middle of talking.
I'm going to try to control it. I'm going to try.
So you might hear curse words, you might hear anger, you might hear just screaming, some weird sounds.
You're probably going to hear chew a lot.
Yeah, we apologize in advance, but this is what happens. Get used to it and enjoy the show.
Oh,
let's get to what's on tap for today's episode. Here's our weekly snapshot. Phil Kessel, boys, is about to take over the Ironman Streak. So for those that don't know, the current Ironman Streak was held by Keith Yandel.
Is still.
It is still held by Keith Yandel at 989 games. Just this past weekend, he was a healthy scratch for the Philadelphia Flyers. A lot of mixed reviews. We'll get into this, but currently he sits at 989, and it will not get any higher. Phil is only 20 games behind, and by next season, depending on what team he plays for, he most likely will hit that and advance past that. A lot of people were assuming that both him and Yandel will get to the 1,000-game mark. For Yandel, that didn't happen, but for someone like Phil Kessel, I think that it definitely could happen, and it sparked a lot of memes and a lot of funny things. First of all, lots of Twitter shots. And one of the funny ones that I saw and that I texted you guys was, give me 2 seconds. Yep, I can't believe I had it on here. It was saved somewhere. This is stalling. And, here it was. It was by Kevin McGran, who said Phil Kessel will now be active consecutive games player leader in the NHL. I happened to talk to JVR, that's James Van Riemsdyk, who's a former teammate of him with the Flyers. With the Penguins.
No.
Oh, no,
Try
sorry.
again.
Toronto.
There you go.
I'm thinking Van Riemsdyk and a bunch of different things. The other day about Kessel's streak, JVR says this. I'm sure a lot of the strength and conditioning specialists are at a loss for words. Because, yes, Phil Kessel, if you know him and if you've seen him, does not look like the average hockey player. He looks like me.
Doesn't look like an athlete.
No, yeah, he's got some pudge, but he is one hell of a skater, and he's one hell of a goal scorer, and that's why he's lasted this long in the NHL, because he can do one thing very well, and that one thing is what leads to NHL wins. So the guy is awesome.
Not for the
at what
team
he does.
he's currently on.
Yeah, not for the team.
Nothing. No one can help that team at this moment.
But Phil Kessel, and we'll get into this because Phil Kessel actually almost ruined his own streak. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but at the end of the game against Arizona, he actually got tossed, and there was talks about him getting suspended for a game, which would have put that streak in jeopardy. It also would have been very funny if that's the way he went out from just talking about a ref. But Phil Kessel, him of 947 points, almost 1,200 games, 400 goals. I mean, the guy is, I don't know. Do you think he's on his way to a Hall of Fame career, possibly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 2 Stanley Cups, the points, because at this point, I think we talked about the Hall of Fame, and at some point, the point totals are going to be less and less because, people just aren't scoring as many points as guys back in the 80s, 90s, whatever. And I think, once he gets his streak and you assume he had interest for an off. I mean, maybe because it's an off-season push, but you assume he's going to sign somewhere next season. And you assume, based on his longevity already, that he's going to be healthy. So he'll reach the 1,000 game, which I don't know if the longest active consecutive game streak is enough to put you in the Hall of Fame, but it definitely is something that you can add to his already, pretty good resume to consider that. But yeah, it's wild that how long he's lasted.
And Shrum, do you have anything?
Especially
on,
with the health problems he had when he was younger.
Yeah.
And for him to be so healthy throughout his career, after that is really, really impressive.
All his cancer scares are it's crazy. I mean, he had all those issues, and everyone thought he'd be out of the league. And yeah, he's put together a hell of a career. Sure, we got anything on Kessel before we?
I think his streak that he's got going now is incredibly impressive, especially for him. Oh my God, somebody just got crushed into the net. For the kind of athlete and everything everybody says about him, but yeah, his streak is pretty. What's he at? He's at 960 something.
So Phil Kessel,
940, 950 something. I don't know. I hope he gets to 1,000. I don't want to see what happens.
Probably less than 20 games.
So he's at 968. He's at 968. Okay. So he's got 21 games. Yep.
I hope he doesn't get healthy scratched like Yandel did, and he can actually.
No. I mean, are we going to talk about the Yandel situation? Because
so that's what
Yandel's
I'm getting into.
Situation is horrendous.
So what basically happened was Yandel was told over the weekend that he's going to be scratched. He was scratched for a guy that had gotten into a fight, and I guess the coach wanted to see more of him. I guess he was under the impression that he'd have a little bit longer and they could get to 1,000 games. I don't know if Philly told him that when they signed him, or what happened with that, but they did obviously tell him that they could get to the streak, and then from there it kind of went downhill. There's been a lot of players on both sides of it, and one of my favorite players, Kevin Hayes, comments on how the players want them and they don't really care about prospects, but he understands that the way the game goes and the way management works. I can see it both ways, right? There's a a veteran in the locker room that everyone loves and cares about. And, Kevin Hayes has a long-standing relationship with Yandel. It's one of his best friends. It's a guy that's been in his corner with his brothers, passing. And he's really helped him out. So I understand his comments and how he wants him in the locker room, and all those guys in there do. But on the same token, Keith Yandel's streak would have been gone last year if it wasn't for basically Twitter and media going all over Florida and being like, you can't sit this guy during the streak. And, I can kind of understand how a team, wants to see what they have in some youth. And these are 11 games coming up that, they have players that they don't really care. They know what their ceiling is, and they want to see what these other, people's players' ceilings are. So I can understand on both sides. But, Mike Rupp comments on how this shouldn't be a thing. The active streak leaders, because, people know what the players are, and they know what they can bring to the locker room. And sometimes you got to see what the youth can share. And one more thing on Kessel, contending teams actually wanted Kessel. And Elliot Friedman said that he heard of a contending team with a very deep roster, but they didn't want to break the streak, Kessel's streak. They wanted to be able to actively sit him if they needed to. So they didn't make a trade for him knowing that was part of the case, which I thought, I mean, I guess to have that PR nightmare. Well, to have that PR nightmare, they're worried about that, and that's the reason. One of the reasons. I mean, why would a team tell, an insider that if they have no skin in the game? That's.
I just why would you trade for Kessel if you think there's a chance he's a healthy scratch? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, I guess as they could
not
have him as
he wouldn't be. He's not a depth guy. Like, he's just not that player. So I don't know. Maybe obviously that could be something that is a possibility, but I don't know. I'm not. Sounds kind of made up to me.
Sounds fishy.
I don't know. I can't really argue that Philly's in a rebuild. They're currently a disaster.
It just
they want to get
1,000.
Yes, but my problem with all this is
point of view.
Yeah, you can't play, and Yandel is as good of a guy he is one of the worst defensemen in the league at this point in his career, which is unfortunate. And most of his the reason why he's still playing is for that streak. And I feel like Philly, they got him to the streak, and now it's like, all right, you got there, you're the guy, but now we got to move on. But they signed the guy. There's 14 games left in the season. You have other roster spots. There's other guys you can scrap. At this point, you committed to the guy. You made it all the way to this point of the season. Just ride it out, and then let whoever thinks about signing him or doesn't sign him in the offseason, let that be the end of his streak. If somebody doesn't sign him, that's it. Or, he's a healthy scratch, 5 games into the season or something. Right now, it's just bad timing. And I don't know about the loyalty with management and the coaching staff here. It seems like it would dissuade a veteran guy from wanting to go over there. The young guys who want to build their careers is one thing, but, trying to sign a veteran guy to go play for Mike Yeo now that, really doesn't care about, you're a vet, you've been in the league for so long, 1,000 games is not nothing. I mean, even if he doesn't end up with, if he doesn't get signed next season and Kessel beats him in the first quarter of next season, he has the accolade. It's like, I'm one of 2 players that played 1,000 consecutive games. And at this point in the season, with the team so far out of the playoffs, you want to see the young talent showcase, but you also, the players play for him. They play for that, individual achievements. That it's not like that's not in their heads, but I don't know. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth, even though I do like sour taste.
I wonder how many. That's true. I wonder how many players on the team currently were completely against this, and now kind of, look at Mike Yeo that's.
I honestly, I can't imagine a single
respect for him.
I can't imagine a single player supported. I can't imagine a single player supported this decision. Not with 14 games, 15, 14, 13, however many games are left that Philly has. I can't imagine anybody was just like, yeah, no, do it. This is the time to do it. Just just finish the season. You signed the guy in the beginning of the season. You committed to him, and the least you can do is just let him finish this damn awful season out. and go from there. It's just it's bad timing, but I get it. The business aspect. There's no guarantees for anything, and you can't just play the guy for the sake of playing him for a streak. I get it, but timing means something at this point.
Like, just why not? Like, what are you gaining really from these kids? Like, you're really going to get a good look at these kids at meaningless games at the end of the season, or whoever they want to get into the lineup.
Games,
they're
I
completely
agree.
meaningless. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's like a great way to be able to see like, oh, what this kid brings to a team or whatever. Like, it's got to be something meaningful, like in the beginning of the season, or like he's fighting for a roster spot in preseason or something like that. Like,
So this actually,
it's so stupid.
so just quickly, and because Steve said this, and I just want to look total fest. So there's been an individual players complete and detailed game by game statistics for each of the 7,623 players who have competed in the NHL since 1917. So 7,600 players have competed in the NHL since 1917. There are only 357 players that have played in more than 1,000 games, and he could have done it consecutively, which is absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's just a streak. Who cares? He went to the game." But for NHL players, it's not. This isn't baseball, or this isn't. Football's. You can't really say that because those guys get banged around just as much as hockey players. But football and basketball, you have the ability to play these 82 game or 150. Not just 162 anymore, but you have the ability to play these because you don't have the strenuous activity continually in your body. Hockey is so difficult to stay healthy for.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone to do that 1,000 straight games is almost it's remarkable.
Scratch them at 1,001. There's still they'll still be like what 4 games, 3 whatever. Get a kid in to play the last couple games. Mm-hmm. Like let him reach that. I mean it's something. And then it's not like he can go into next season and there's always next season to get to there, but there's not. So they chose to do this, and I have said in a couple times before that Philly has had instances of classlessness, and I think that this is one of them.
So we're gonna do some trivia actually, because now that I'm
already.
Yeah. What team or teams share the record for most 1,000 games played? Like, how many players have played 1,000 games for that franchise? What team and or teams?
That's a tricky question, though. Like, only for that franchise?
Only for this franchise.
Yep. Oh, only for that franchise. Okay. Wow. Montreal?
No, Montreal is not. Montreal only has 5.
Toronto.
Henry Richard played the most. No, Toronto has 5 also.
Are any of them original 6 teams?
I'm not answering that question, but yes.
Wow.
Chicago.
I'm not answering it.
Chicago.
Yes.
Chicago has 7. So they have Stan Mikita, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Bobby Hull, Patrick Kane, Eric Nestorenko, and Bob Murray. Who is the other team?
Tied with
Penguins?
them?
Tied with them. What'd you say?
Penguins?
Nope. Penguins
Boston
have...
Rangers.
Hold on. No, hold on. Rangers have 3. Penguins have 1. Penguins only have 1 player that's played 1,000 games. Steve, who is it?
Yeah, it's Sid.
It's Sid.
1,039.
Yeah, 1,039. You said Boston. Boston has 6. Ray Bork, Johnny Busick, Patrice Bergeron, Don Sweeney, Wayne Cashman, and Zdeno Chara. Who's the other team?
Who the hell are we forgetting here?
Edmonton?
You're missing a big one. No, Edmonton only has 1, Kevin Lowe.
Wow.
You're missing a big one. Original 6.
Detroit.
We forget.
Detroit Red Wings. Gordie Howe, Nicholas Lidstrom, Alex Delvecchio, Steve Yzerman, Chris Draper, Henrik Zetterberg, and Tomas Holmstrom. Played 1,000 games.
That poor guy.
Tomas.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of not. I'm thinking of
no, you're
what's his
thinking
name?
of
Franzen.
yeah. Oh, I
Franzen.
thought you were talking about the guy who got injured in the car accident.
Oh well, yeah, but
Oh yeah.
Fetisov?
Okay. Fetisov, Slava Fetisov. Thank you. Okay. So going back to, I don't even know where we were talking about Castle and all that. So that leader streak for games played in a row led me to this one. NHL leaders for most games played without a playoff appearance. Do you know who holds the current record for most games played without a playoff appearance?
without a playoff appearance,
I'm going to admit, I thought this player won a cup back 14 years ago, but he wasn't even in the league. I thought he did, but you'll make fun of me when I tell it to you. But
oh boy,
is he a current player?
Yeah. He plays in
this.
the Eastern Conference.
I know this.
He's played in the Eastern Conference his entire life.
Never been in the playoffs.
And he's gonna miss the playoffs again this year.
He's only played. He's gonna miss playoffs again this year, and he's only played in the Atlantic his whole career.
In the Atlantic. Oh man, now I got to cheat.
Jesus.
He used to be a figure skater.
Skinner?
Jeff Skinner?
Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner, 720 games played. He played in 2010 was when he started. I thought he won the cup with Carolina back in 2006. I thought he was on that team, but I guess I was wrong.
He was already gone at that point?
No, he wasn't even in the league.
He wasn't even in the league.
They won in 2006. He came in 2010. I thought he played with
no, he's still relatively young.
Yeah, he's 30 something or 28, 29. He's only played with Carolina and Buffalo, so that's the Atlantic, because Carolina wasn't in the the Metro until 2 years ago or this year. Schwim, who is the second career games played leader to have not played in the playoffs, but just recently broke that streak?
Sounds like it's somebody on Tampa.
In fact, he went all the way and won the cup. Come on, Schwim. He shares a tie with number 2 or with Jeff Skinner.
He's tied with Skinner in games?
No, he played on the same team as as Jeff Skinner.
Oh.
Defenseman.
Some in Carolina?
Nope, he played with them in Buffalo, and now he's
Bogosian.
a defenseman for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bogosian,
yes.
644 games, so he's 80 behind, but
and a horrible turnover time that resulted in the first goal.
The thing with Skinner too, man, is if he sticks with Buffalo, it's going to be some time. It's going to be a little bit of time.
So the leader of all time is Guy Chiron, who played for Montreal, Detroit, Kansas City, and Washington. He played 734 games. Skinner is only 14 games behind. So he's most likely. He's absolutely going to be because he can't unless he retires unless he gets hurt and then doesn't come back until like the playoffs next year. But yeah, so it's going to be Skinner's. Some other Buffalo Sabres. Sorry, JJ, on this list. Rasmus Ristolainen has 400.
Yeah, he was going to be my guest actually. Ristolainen.
Semgus Jurgensen has 489 games.
They all Sabres, career Sabres.
Yeah, Mark Pysyk, also a former Buffalo Sabre. Now he's in Florida. He's going to be crossing that off this list this year.
Eichel probably should too.
Sam Reinhart will break that streak this year. And Jack Eichel is also on this list, who will
maybe.
I mean, well, let's get into Eichel real fast.
He might. Who knows?
Eichel and Dallas, but Dallas has 4 games in hand, and they are just like, here, Carolina, we're going to feed you some
3
games.
now.
You can keep staying in the but they're basically not making this. They could easily just mail this in and be right in the playoffs and say, screw you, Vegas, we're going to take this. But they can have 8-game losing streaks and then a 9-game winning streak, and it's just back and forth. Dallas is just so inconsistent. It's maddening.
Yeah.
Oh, another guy, Johan Larsson, is another guy that won't make the playoffs. Buffalo.
Oh, poor Buffalo.
That's been 10 consecutive. Is this the 10th or 11th consecutive year?
I think it's the 11th consecutive year.
This is the 10th, I believe. 10th consecutive year.
I thought it was 11, but okay.
They have all sorts of terrible records, huh?
Yeah, all sorts of
Yeah,
terrible
not
records.
good.
All right. Speaking of terrible, the Troy Terry Zegras slash Jay Beagle incident. Terry is out, but not bad. And this kind of gets into if anyone didn't see it, basically, the Panthers, the Ducks were wiping the floor with Arizona. They were getting fancy, and I mean, there was another Michigan goal, and Zegers was nasty the entire time, and you could clearly see he was getting into the skin of the Arizona Coyotes. And there was a play at the end of the game where both Troy Terry and Zegers tried to score, and they poked at the goaltender, and Beagle kind of just got incensed and went at it. He started cross-checking Zegers at first, but then Troy Terry came in and kind of bear hugged him to get him off, like you would normally see in a hockey scrum where you don't want fights. You just kind of try to get the guys to calm down. But Jay Beagle wasn't having that. He turned and basically just continually punched Troy Terry to a point where Terry went limp and Beagle kept chucking, and it made you a little sick to your stomach that something like this happened. But basically willing participants in a fight, and how he wasn't willing. It kind of reminded me of the Tom Wilson incident. Not so much in that Tom Wilson's just an animal, because Beagle's never really been, to me, I've never seen him as that kind of player. But where it was just not necessary, and said someone kept going on a star player. And I do think Troy Terry is kind of a star. He's a 30-goal scorer, and he's done very well for the Ducks. But nothing for Beagle or the Department of Player Safety. They didn't want to suspend him. And so it gets to the point where, how do you protect the stars from stuff like this? And do you guys think that maybe this eventually leads to banning of fighting?
I don't think so. I'll keep it, I guess, kind of short and sweet here. But this was, at some point, players like Beagle, if it weren't for the Arizona Coyotes existing, Beagle wouldn't be on an NHL team. So players people talk about, Beagle's not a dirty player, but I mean, that was a mugging is what it was.
Yeah, it was.
If you're, the thing about it is, I know that there's talk about, if it's a star player, I think Zegras is making an argument about if it's a star player, he shouldn't be getting punched on the ice like that. And my argument would be that none of them should. Fights that are agreed upon, fight away. Poor Svechnikov decided to fight Ovechkin last season, right? And obviously that was a bad idea, but it was at least agreed upon.
Decided. Yep.
Yeah, but it was a mugging. Players like Beagle won't be around. Players like that just basically won't be around. And dinosaurs like Tyson Nash are gonna become irrelevant too. And this whole disrespect with how you're scoring a goal, stop him from scoring it. You don't jump him after he scores the goal just because he didn't like how he scored it. Stop it from happening. That's the way that you defend a play like that. Don't allow it to happen. You don't, the kid it was a hell of a goal, and everybody likes skill. There should be more skill in the league, and I love the fact that these kids are showcasing it, this new age of kids, and it's exciting, and it's good for the sport. What's not good for the sport is when they do something like that and some idiot decides to just, pummel a guy who probably never fought a day in his life just because he didn't like how he scored the goal. Give me a break. Stop the goal from happening next time instead of trying to just punch some guy because your feelings were hurt because he disrespected you and how you're getting smoked by his team. Play better. Don't be awful, okay? How about that?
Tyson Nash, if it was reversed, if they were doing that, they were running up the score on Anaheim or whatever and doing whatever, and he would be the complete opposite of that. He'd be this is ridiculous. They're going after our players and just because we're running up the he would totally be like that. He'd be the complete opposite. He's such a homer, and the stuff he says most of the time. Sometimes he's funny. Sometimes he says some funny stuff, but a lot of other times he says such stupid shit. And
let's
get the prime example. Tell him the quote. This is the prime example.
This is what he said. This is his comments at the during the game, live comments, as well as the follow-up that he had with on a podcast for one of the Coyotes beat reporters. when you try to embarrass guys and skill it up, get prepared to get punched in the face. They dance around with all these fancy moves. That's what's going to happen. Then he clarified on the podcast that he meant hot dogging it. He said there was too much celebrating and smiling from the Ducks bench, and that's why they got incensed. And after the goalie poke, after the goalie poke, that's when they decided to take some action.
He's
he doubled
upset
down.
that his team absolutely sucks.
And this is the thing that pissed me off the most. He said, because the guy asked him point blank, if you saw that a guy like Troy Terry wasn't fighting back, would you still go at him? And he said that Beagle shouldn't back off and that he should keep punching him. The guy that's the reason Tyson Nash is out of the league, because he's just a shithead. And, it's
because he has no skill and he's jealous of other players that have skill.
Yeah, he made a career
but it's funny
of that.
because you see guys like Bissonnette, who is also the same kind of player, but he had totally different comments about the thing, and how and you could just see that the smart players that know what they're doing, because there is a unwritten code in hockey, right? If a guy's not fighting you back, you don't keep punching him. That's just it's an unwritten rule. You just don't do it.
Especially when he didn't really do anything. All he was doing was trying to break. He didn't go in there throwing haymakers or anything like that. Then maybe you have a case a little bit, but all he was doing was just trying to break stuff up. And
the person to watch in that entire scrum is Louis Eriksson.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say
what he did was that's what you do. I mean, Louis. I'm sure Louis Eriksson was pissed about the score. I'm sure he was upset about things, but these things happen. But Louis Eriksson. First of all, he's not a fighter, but he grabs Zegras. Zegras is obviously trying to defend this guy. He literally just hugs him and just keeps hugging him. He doesn't say a word to him the entire time. He just hugs him, and he basically protects the kid. He knows what's going to happen, and I'm sure Louis Eriksson was probably not thrilled with what was happening, because that's not the kind of player that he is, and it's not the kind of player he ever supported, because he himself at least was a skill guy. But yeah, I mean, Tyson. There's a reason why Tyson Nash he's doing color commentary for the Coyotes, because they don't even have a fan base that watches them, let alone nationally broadcast games. But I don't know. I disagree with Tyson Nash. I can't say that you have your own opinion. That was the type of player he is. Go ahead and say what you're going to say. But listen, man, this is what the league is. The league is skill. And it needs to continue to be skill, and it's better for the league. We're not going to go back in time and get these Tyson Nash type players that just go out there and just try to fight the superstars. So,
all right, so this is my last point on this. Teemu Selanne was not happy, and his tweet basically says that he wants Ty Domi's on the Ducks, on the young Ducks rosters, and he basically was unhappy with it. Was a shot at the GM and a shot at management. They traded obviously Josh Manson and Nicholas Delorier, who both are fighters that would have, I guess. I mean, that's why it's a stupid comment, because Manson might have been on the ice, but Delorier is not playing with Zegras and Troy Terry on their line, so he's not going to do shit when he's on the bench. He might fight him afterwards. That doesn't mean anything in the moment, right? So. Obviously, those are both UFAs, and they didn't sign long-term, so that's why Pat Verbeek traded them. And Pat Verbeek was a tough SOB when he was playing in the league. He wasn't, he was a very, tough and rugged player, obviously a very good scorer as well. But, something coming from a Hall of Famer and someone that obviously is very offensively gifted and, in tune with the Ducks, says that he thinks that they need Ty Domis to protect these guys. And that's the only problem. That's still the mindset in hockey, is that you need a goon to deter other goons, when that's not the case.
That doesn't deter anybody.
Stopped another goon from stopped another goon from taking liberties. And the point is just get him out of the NHL. Yeah,
because no one is afraid. I mean, there's a couple guys that just won't fight guys. I think, Tom Wilson, whatever. But there's guys that just if somebody steps up to fight them, they're not going to do it. If it's an evenly matched fight, but they'll fight guys that are much smaller than them. But at the same time, the fact that Ryan Reeves is on the Rangers isn't going to stop Tom Wilson if he has the opportunity, completely devastating somebody on the Rangers. It's just not going to happen, because they're not scared of him. They're almost certainly probably not going to be on the ice together, and he doesn't Reeves isn't going to do I mean, he'll try to hit him, but Reeves isn't going to do some cheap shot game hit that's going to get him suspended for 25 games or whatever. And he's not going to jump him. And if he tries to fight him, he's not going to fight. So it doesn't work. There do need to be guys that have physicality on rosters, yes, to match other teams' physicality. But I'm just not buying this whole, they need a protector BS.
Nope. Yeah.
Wasn't Zegras calling him trash or something after the game when they're interviewing him? He was calling Beagle
it was a joke.
He's like just
ripping
into him.
He should be embarrassed. And
he kind of is.
I mean, now he is. Yeah.
He's a nothing player. I mean, Zegras will get over it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It sucks.
So I'm just glad Terry's okay. And he's out for a couple games while he heals. I know his face was all messed up. I'm sure the swelling needs to go down. Hopefully there's no head injury.
A lot of people thought that he broke his orbital bone because it looked real bad. But
it's pretty nasty look.
And I do understand why the Department of Player Safety doesn't want to suspend a guy like this because, it was.
It's a fine line of like it's a fight, right? Wow. And you can't just suspend somebody for fighting because then. Yep. You could argue anybody could be suspended for starting a fight.
Yeah, and then you're getting in that whole thing, should we ban fighting, which I think eventually will happen. I think they're going to do it, but it'll take
I don't think they'll ban fighting. I think it's going to keep going the way that it's going. It's just going to become less and less and less until it just isn't a thing anymore.
All right.
Damn, you lost the match.
It already is continuously declining fights. I mean, there's teams that have a handful of fighting majors all season.
Speaking of less and less, and this is the Devils' win totals. The Devils were ousted by the Bruins this past weekend. They had a bad loss to the Panthers. Then after that, they blew a 6-2 lead, which was very funny to watch. And then they lose to their old goaltender, Corey Schneider, which was very funny. And the Isles. They need goaltending in badly, and you can clearly see that this team has major issues. From Ty Smith to no goaltending to, what are they going to do with contracts for guys like Jesper Bratt, and a couple other players that are looking for new contracts. I mean, if you're the GM of the Devils, what are you doing to fix this team?
So,
is there any player,
number one,
is there any player you're looking at?
First of all, yes, probably anyone who's available. But that being said, They need a lot. And I know it's easy to blame the goaltender because they've had 6 goalies, something, or however, all season, 6-7 goalies all season.
Yep.
Not good. Nobody specifically doing very well. So it's one thing that needs to be fixed. There's defensive woes. There's depth scoring. You got to be able to keep the guys. The talent that you have now, they need to be able to keep like a Jesper Bratt long term. They need to keep a Jack Hughes, obviously, longer term. But they need to they got to start giving up these picks and prospects. I mean, they can have the best prospect pool in the league, and I think they ranked them at 1 or 2, or experts ranked them 1, 2, whatever it was, top 3 down the list. And you can have all these prospects as much as you want, but you need veteran guys who can play now and know how the game is played to really put, because you have all these young guys, and maybe like, what are the chances that a roster of prospects are going to stay together? Like, chances are they're going to move on somewhere else. Their entry level contracts up, they're going to test free agency. You're not going to keep all of them. So at some point you got to start giving up these picks and prospects and start getting guys that are available. I know that there was rumblings about John Gibson. You might have to give up a lot for him, but he is a bona fide number one. And, he's a guy that you fix the goaltending position right then and there. Like, done deal. Don't got to worry about it. Get a decent backup. Mackenzie Blackwood, fine. If you want to get him to split starts with him or be, more of a 1B, whatever kind of goalie, that's fine. Go out and get him. Send those picks and prospects. That's the play. That's somewhere to start. Dougie Hamilton was a great signing, and that's a good sign that the Devils can potentially sign free agents, which is something that they haven't been able to do. Those big name guys.
They will have to overpay. Guys. And that's not as
they will have to overpay. They're going to have to give big contracts. They're going to have to overpay for everything at this point. If they want to truly be competitive, they need to overpay contracts for guys like Dougie Hamilton and overpay trade packages to land guys like John Gibson. Because I don't see personally another solution at the goaltending position for the Devils. I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood's that guy. I know Nico Dawes has looked good at times, but he's not. Yep. He's probably not the solution. So who else would be available? Fleury's a free agent. You're going to sign Fleury. He's 38, 39. I can't remember his age. Can't be him. Gibson he's got a lot left in the tank, and he is a number one guy. So
all right,
that's somewhere to start, I think. If he's available, that's a place to start, in my opinion.
Mike Rossi also on Facebook Live said #FireRuff, and I think that's another thing. They need to get rid of Mike Ruff, but that's a different animal. So here's the 2023 NHL free agents for goaltenders. Just off the top: Jonathan Quick, Semyon Varlamov, Ben Bishop, Freddie Anderson, Jonathan Bernier, Cam Talbot. Maybe he's 36 though. Same kind of thing. Tristan Jarry will be a UFA. Obviously depends on how the Pittsburgh Penguins do this postseason. If he does well, I think he comes back. If he doesn't, I think Pittsburgh could be after John Gibson.
Yes. If he crashes and burns in the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah. Now Nedeljkovic is 27.5. I don't know what Detroit's plans are for him. Maybe that's a decent option to put with Blackwood, who's also a UFA. And remember, Mackenzie Blackwood was on the long list for Team Canada for goaltending if the Olympics had played. Yeah. So that's how bad it hurts as a New Jersey Devil fan right now, is that you had someone that could have been an option. He's very much, went in the other direction. I know that there's a whole bunch of issues with the way the team or him had, controlled injuries. And I know that no one really knows exactly what happened, but that was a problem.
I mean, they need better defense too. Better defense will help the goaltending as well. But I mean, you're talking Nedeljkovic is as much a gamble as continuing with Mackenzie Blackwood at this point. Yep. Nedeljkovic has not impressed. He impressed with Carolina, has not impressed with Detroit. No, because you're going to get the same situation you're in with Detroit right now. Like, look at Nedeljkovic on a bad team. He's a bad goalie. So if you put him on another bad team again, he's going to continue to be a bad goalie. So you put him on Carolina, he's going to look great. That's just a product of the system, right? So I don't know. I think Gibson is, if he's available, is the guy for any team who's looking to just completely redo their goaltending.
I heard Connor Hellebuck also is a dark horse for being moved because obviously Winnipeg is not exactly trending in the right direction. All right, so this was by The Athletic, and this is the prospect rankings. It had Buffalo at 1, it had LA Kings at 2, Minnesota Wild at 3, and the Devils at 4, followed by the Ducks at 5. Do you know who the last ranked team was?
Who?
It's the Seattle Kraken, 31, Islanders, 30, Tampa Bay Lightning.
Nice.
And 29, Pittsburgh Penguins. Rangers were 8.
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Well, they did have a lot of good college free agents signings, so maybe.
No, I mean, the Devils have a very good prospect system, but like you said, you need to do something with that. And, you have these guys that, in Ty Smith, Dawson Mercer, Igor Sharangovich, that have graduated, but you have Alex Holtz, you have Luke Hughes, obviously one of the better left-handed defensemen in prospects in hockey. And they have some talent. They need to trade some of this stuff and trade some picks for proven guys. So
trades. It's going to have to be through trades right now, and then maybe you can sign a guy. But the trade market is you're going to have to give up some of these prospects to, and some of these high draft picks. I mean, you're going to have another high draft pick again. Do you want to use it now on, a guy that could be something in the league 2-3 years down the road, or do you want to get an impact guy immediately? Whoever could potentially be available.
Yeah, if the Ducks came to me and said, "I'll give you, Gibson for the your number one pick." Obviously, if it's not number one overall, you're not going to trade Shane Wright for him. But if it's 3, 4, 5, I'm trading that pick for John Gibson because you don't know that you'll have any sort of a prospect that will equate to anything like John Gibson could ever be. So
unless they legitimately have no real reason to compete for the playoffs until some of these prospects prove to be bigger stars.
I think they're a goaltender and couple defensemen away from being a decent team, a playoff contending team. Maybe not a championship, but a playoff contending team. Because Luke Hughes,
depends.
Jack Hughes is awesome.
If you're talking about, well, obviously we're not talking about this season because this season is going to be in the past. But if they had that now, they still wouldn't be competing for a playoff spot because of how amazing the top 8 have been.
Yeah.
But yes, going into next season, obviously we're redoing it, and it's a whole different beast. But yes, I mean, those pieces, and obviously they're going to be better. Some other teams are probably going to be better too, because the other teams who are competing to make a jump to compete for a playoff spot are also going to be trying to do the exact same thing the Devils are going to be doing. So you need to start outbidding these guys because they're going to give whatever. If you're just sitting back and waiting for like something to fall into your lap, that may be a good decision. Like, I'll throw this money at this free agent guy and I'll get one impact player in a Dougie Hamilton each season. Yeah. Until they're good. Like, it's just not. It can't work that way. You got to start. Right, you got to start paying for success.
Long term, I'm looking at the roster. Dougie Hamilton's there to stay. He's a good player. Ryan Graves is there to stay. He's a good bottom two pairs defenseman.
Yes.
Damon Severson, maybe a bottom pair / second line, and second.
I don't
pair
think.
Defender.
I mean, there's he gets credit for things, and I mean,
Yeah, no.
I'm not seeing it. I just don't see it. I don't watch all Devil games, but I watch enough, and there's a lot of times he looks like the worst defender on your team, defenseman on your team, and I don't know why.
I think if Severson and Graves are your bottom pair defensemen, you're okay. Ty Smith has the ability to be a top 4 defenseman, but he just hasn't shown that yet. You need 2 defensemen. Yeah, maybe. I think he is. I think at this
point, you need to see a little more at this point. He's going the route of Will Butcher here, and we don't want another one of those. Devil fans don't want another one of those.
Devil fans that said him were better than Adam Fox. Just amazing. They need 2
better than Adam Fox?
They said that Ty Smith was better than Adam Fox.
Well, I mean, Ty Smith
last year
had a lot of promise, and he still has some. But I was hoping to see more. And I'm really not seeing a whole lot. So as far as a Norris Trophy contending defenseman, I don't know that you have that in Ty Smith, but you could have, a decent
Dougie
second pair, right?
Still a contender. Yeah.
I think Dougie Hamilton, though, is a great defenseman on great teams, but he's an okay defenseman on a bad team. He'll still produce offensively. That's just what he does. But he looks better on a better team, hence why he was so good in Carolina, and probably why Carolina was just like, okay, we can let him go.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about him real quickly is, or not him, but the team. They have obviously the top 2 centers in Hughes and Heischer, although I think Heischer on a great team is a third center, but that's just
middle. Yeah, he's middle, 2-3.
Yeah. Pavel Zacha will most likely be gone next year. They've already tried to trade him. Maybe Boquist. I don't know. They need another big-time winger because right now your top 6 wingers are Sharon Govich, Dawson Mercer, Jesper Bratt, and Thomas Tatar. You need a better winger in there, and I know that they're going to have Holtz to come in, but they need one more good winger to pair with those, that top 6.
What about that first-round draft pick with the crazy name?
That's what I'm saying. Alexander Holtz.
Muhammad.
No.
Oh, no, he's a defenseman.
I thought he was a forward. Muka. Muhammad.
Get the K out of there. It's just Muhammadulin.
Muka Hamadulin.
No, the K. It's like Habibulin. Think of Habibulin.
I don't.
Think of how you pronounce Habibulin. You don't say Kabi. You don't say Kabibulin, right? You say Habibulin.
I used to.
That's how you say it. That's how you pronounce it.
Of course, you would say it like that.
You probably still do.
No, I say Habibulin. The Bulin Wall. Come on, man.
We got the last half, right?
The Kabulin Wall.
Yeah.
The Kabulin Wall. All right, just quickly to round things out, NHL announced the 3 finalists for the 2022 Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award, and it's public voting. So there was a bunch of things, so go out and vote. Some pretty cool stuff like the Indigenous Girls Hockey Nova Scotia, where he's trying to build it's the Tender Bridge, which is for kids in and around East Baltimore. But just go read up about it and go vote. It's pretty cool. All right. So last things on my list. Talk about the Devils. The first team in was the Panthers to clinch a playoff spot. One thing we didn't cover at the trade deadline, but spoke about offline, was the amount of future picks being dealt. The Panthers' pick for Drew was 2024. Other future picks as well. I saw one as late as 2025. It seems like everyone wants to keep the 2023 firsts, other than
There's a
Tampa Bay.
penalty. Oh.
Oh yeah, of course. Why? I wonder why, right?
Yeah. But yes,
you got two guys that are going to be. That's like a Ovechkin Malkin type draft.
Yeah.
Where you're going to have
it's going to be
two generational players.
And Connor Bedard looks absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so does the Russian kid, who I can never remember his name.
Yeah, shoot. Here it is. Center draft.
Oh my God, Colton, you fucking suck.
Kid's name. God damn it, Schwem.
Where's the bleep
all the time?
We need a bleep.
Matvey Michkov.
Yeah.
Where's Sam when you need him with a bleep?
Yeah. So actually, Michkov.
And again, you blow it.
8 or 9 months. So
do you have a mute button?
I don't know how to work it. Here, Shrimp talk. I did it. I muted him.
Didn't say anything.
Talking? Yeah, dummy.
Wait, what, Shrimp? I think I muted him.
No, he's playing us.
No, it worked. It worked. I had it.
Right, you suck.
You put him back on at the wrong time.
Yeah, I know. All right. We covered that. One of the questions that we got on Twitter, actually, was why do we think NHL trade deadlines aren't as crazy as basketball or baseball deadlines? Is it loyalty? Are teams scared? I actually think loyalty is a good one, but I think it's more that teams are scared of ruining the locker room and what they have going. And most NHL GMs do not want to part with assets to make big changes, and they're worried that how it affects the locker room and their jobs. And it's an old boys club, and they don't want to do anything out of the ordinary. That's why I think that it's not as crazy as basketball or baseball.
Isn't baseball? I don't think there's no salary cap, so it's just all the rich teams can buy whoever the hell they want.
But also, I don't think with those sports, I don't think those players really care if they're sent somewhere. Yeah. I really think NHL players, for the overwhelming majority, really want to stay where they are. They really don't want to go anywhere. And so I don't think you really see. I mean, we've been seeing it or hearing it a little bit more lately, but I really don't think you're seeing a whole lot of these trade requests and stuff that you see in other sports. And so, yeah, I think loyalty is the big thing there. But there's
Austin Matthews again. Jesus Christ!
Oh my
one
God.
player to mark.
There is
welcome to playoff hockey.
It's gonna be worse in the playoffs.
That's why you don't see. They're talking about like big name guys going, right, like huge mega trades. Because
I think just anything.
Trade deadlines for other sports really exciting because
basketball is probably the most exciting. Much. Basketball, there's always stars going, and I think that's because it's easier to find a player, man.
Basketball is so notorious for it's just a team builds an all-star team. One guy goes somewhere, he tells other guys to go there, and they build an all-star team. Yeah. They win a championship or two, and then they move on somewhere else and build an all-star team somewhere else. So I feel like it's just what basketball is.
More recently, it's been you build an all-star team, and then that fails, and then you trade those guys for other. You just keep trying to rebuild until you get the right package.
Salary cap.
Philly's done that for how long? Yeah.
Tom Petrillo is also correct, and the salary cap plays big effect on.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams, most of the league, right, is right up to the cap ceiling. So,
pretty much, yeah. Okay, we'll do the last things later. All right, quickly for NHL stats, because it's just good to reference these for everybody. So standings quickly. Also, Florida clinched a playoff spot. Tampa's in second. Toronto's in second, Tampa's in third, Boston's in fourth, but Boston can leapfrog Tampa if they win and Tampa loses tonight. which sounds like they already are. In the Metro, Hurricanes, Rangers, Penguins, Capitals. Western Conference, Colorado, Wild, Blues, Predators. Dallas is right behind them. And then lastly, Flames, Kings, Oilers, and the Golden Knights in the Pacific. For stats, league leader is still Connor McDavid at 105 points now. Draisaitl also at 101. Matthews was the first person to get to 50 goals. He now has what, Shrim? 52?
52.
Sounds like.
He's got two tonight.
So that's breaking news right here.
50. Right, 50 last night, Draisaitl?
Draisaitl is also at 50 as of last night. He's at 101 points. He sits second.
Nobody's hit 60 since Stamkos back in. I just saw this in 2010. He was the last one to do it.
There was
crazy.
Stammer had a quote that he thinks that Matthews will be the first one to do it. So we'll see.
I think
he could. I mean,
enough games.
The rate this game's going, he might score friggin' 6. Nobody wants to go. He's wide open in front of the net. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Well, I mean, if
it's the same reason why Alex Ovechkin scores all of his goals from the damn left circle on the power play, right? When everybody should just be like, okay, there's shooters.
I'd make it a 4-on-3.
Washington has shooters, but just cover him. Take that away.
Yeah.
And let
I'd make it a 4-on-3.
Make him beat you another way.
Yeah.
Don't have him beat you.
Yeah, make him do it. Make somebody else score. Which
they
can, but
Matthews got 53.
Matthews was 53.
He was at 51 entering the game. He's at 51 entering the game.
Oh, okay. 53. Yeah, sorry.
So he's seven goals in 12 games or so?
You can do it.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I think he can get over 60.
That's a lot of goals.
Well, not 12. Is it 12 games? Yeah, I guess there's 12 games left. Yeah. The assist leader is Huberdeau at 73, followed by Connor McDavid at 65.
No, they have 13 games left after this one.
13. Okay.
Yeah. So definitely
Johnny
doable.
Gaudreau still doing pretty well. For goaltending, for defensemen, real quickly, Roman Josi, who actually is now getting some MVP buzz. He's at 81 points, and he leads Cale Makar by 6. We were talking about Cale Makar and obviously we were also talking about my boy and Shroom's boy for the Norris. Roman Yosi's run away with the Norris right now for me. He is hands down. He's the best player on his team. Yeah. He's the best defenseman in the league. He's been awesome this entire season, and he doesn't get enough buzz.
Even if Makar comes back and surpasses him in points, Josi is the better defenseman right now. I mean, Makar is so young still. So what the future for that kid is ridiculous. But right now, Roman Josi is the best defenseman in the league at this point in the season.
So unfortunately, in the goaltending standings, Igor's taken a couple steps back. His team's played like dog shit. So very nice of them. Freddie Anderson is now the goals against leader. Igor still holds the save percentage lead by 5 points. He's saving a .933 clip, but the goals against went down after a couple bad games. And then at wins leaders, you have 35 is Vasi, 33 is Anderson and Tristan Jarry, and then 32 is Igor, Saros, Bobrovsky, Kemper. So that is pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't know if anymore if Shesterkin is the hands-down Vezina guy. I think he still is, but
I think he still is.
I think he still is just because he's of how important he is to his team and where they are in the standings. But I think it was way more obvious before than it is currently, just based on this little slip that I can't blame. You can't blame it on him because basically this is what he's dealt with all season, and now he's just basically starting to look human.
Yeah, it's bad. No, the Rangers looked like crap, and hopefully, the Cop. They obviously losing the Devils, and then they had a couple of bad losses recently.
I don't think they necessarily look like crap, but Shesterkin was making them look much better than they actually are, but they're still a good team. They're still a very good team. So don't discredit that.
I was at the Isles game on Friday, and it was
you picked a hell of a game to go to.
Oh yeah,
it was absolutely putrid, and it made me sick because they left Igor out to dry. They only had like 14 shots the entire fucking game. It was terrible. But
Oh my god, where is Sam with the bleeps? Oh my goodness,
all right,
that person
that
cheering.
one needed it. So, all right. What do you guys, how's your beers? I will give Crusher a 4. I'll get a 4.
4.75.
Steve, yours.
You gotta be kidding me.
Schwim?
I don't know.
Just cut him off.
Please. I muted him. He's done. Shrimp, take her home. Thanks, buddy. That was great. Appreciate it.